So I'm gonna make some chanterelle soup, and at the same time I'm gonna talk about depression. I've been there, maybe you've been there. As I believe that medication is a good tool to get out of a loop and start to help yourself, I have a kind of different opinion on how to get out of depression and what depression is telling you, which I think is kind of more mainstream, what people are talking about, like what depression is trying to tell you, and you should welcome depression when you feel it. So let's start. So these are really good containers, So I need 300 grams. We found 3 kilos of chanterelles in the forest. So the way I think about depression is telling you when you're limiting yourself. Whenever you're limiting yourself, if there are parts of you that you feel are not acceptable or are not needed or necessary or forbidden, something that this society would want you to activate, and then you don't, you're kind of bound to get depressed. A lot of the times I think we listen to the society too much because we're pack animals, we want to be accepted and we want to be supported and we don't want to be abandoned. So even if we're not aware of it, we're going to be doing what the society wants us to do one way or another. Even though you would feel like the most rebellious person on earth, you're still going to be affected subconsciously. And then we're going to look at the world around us and see well, this is accepted, this is not. And even if we don't want to, we're going to pick and choose which characteristics we're going to be investing more in within us in order to survive in the world and be accepted and loved and, included. And a lot of the characteristics that make you you and make you happy, you might just kind of push into the back burner. You might just kind of disregard and not even notice that you just don't give them enough of attention because you don't see the world around you give those characteristics any attention. So why would you? But if you think about how you were as a child, what made you happy, what made you shine, what made you energized, what made you all giddy, those are the parts obviously that kind of still sit within you and they make you happy no matter how much you see them in the outer world. We want to succeed in one way or another so that we might, elevate our life, become better, become more of this, more of that. We want to evolve as people. Instead of kind of focusing on the things that actually make us happy and make us us, we usually focus more on the things that we kind of see around us to be ones that magnetize that evolution. But that might not be what makes you at all, And so even the smallest things that you kind of limiting yourself from, saying well, this is not important enough, won't lead anywhere, it won't be accepted, I'm going to be ridiculed if I do this, I'm going to be seen as inadequate if I do something new that I'm not so good at, whatever. I feel whatever you limit yourself from is what causes the depression, because what you're doing when you're limiting yourself from an expression of yourself or characteristics within yourself, no matter how little, how insignificant it might feel, you're limiting your life force. So you're causing a block within your energy body, which is basically just your body, there's energy moving through the body. And what you're doing is you kind of blocking a source of energy within your body, because literally doesn't matter what it is, but if it energizes you in a pure way, so it's not hurting anyone, it's just an expression of your soul, it's just going to energize you. And if you're telling yourself, but the expression itself is not good enough, it's not accepted, and then you don't feed that, you don't activate that source, you're just not going to get that burst of energy that you would get. That's basically what it's for, is to give you that boost of energy. So let's say you're limiting yourself from performing in front of people. You have this performer persona within you. You've been a performer since you were a child, and then certain events in your life and your career and whatever start to tell you that's not important, you know, it's not going to lead anywhere, you're not going to get more money out of it. It doesn't even have to be like negative, it's just neutral, like it's not going to lead anywhere, so I'm just not going to put any energy into it. But what you're actually doing is, by thinking that I shouldn't put any energy into it, you're actually just blocking a source of energy within you. And that over time causes depression. Now, what we usually do when we don't notice that we're causing our depression like this, we go for dopamine. So we go for external stimuli which would validate in some biological way that you don't need to open that source of energy. So you might go for, let's say, you're afraid to perform in front of people because you're afraid of being vulnerable. Now, what you might do instead is you become addicted to sexual acceptance. You think that you're not good enough in some way, so you go and look for the acceptance to that. You kind of get stuck in that loop instead of like maybe using that as a tool, or maybe just like giving that validation for yourself, but you're unconscious about this, so you're not doing it. You get depressed over and over and over, and there's something you're not validating within yourself because you don't see the importance of it. It doesn't have to even be something, it can be something negative. It can be that you attach something very negative towards that characteristic in you, but it doesn't have to be negative. It can just be that you don't see the importance of it, so you focus on something that you think is more important, you get validation out of there, you think all is Gucci, you know. But it's not, because if you get depressed, you're doing something wrong with your energy system, because something is blocked and you're getting lethargic, you don't want to do anything anymore, life is not worth it, you know, all this shit. So, Onion, I might cry. So basically, what you need to do is to say, hi depression, don't question what you want. When you get depressed, it's so easy to actually like track down where it comes from. So what's the one thing you want to do when you're depressed, but you think it's just ridiculous, you know? It might take some time to get there, but this is how you get in touch with your emotions again, because you know, when you're depressed, you feel like, I have no emotions, I'm just numb. And then, even if you have no one to talk to, you can always kind of observe your depression. Observe it, be like, what do I actually want to do? Is there one thing I want to do? But I'm blocking myself from it, so I don't want to do anything, you know? Is there something that I believe about myself that because I am that, or I'm not that, then I can't do this one thing, and that's why I don't want to do anything. There is usually one thing, like it can be batshit crazy, it can be something completely irrelevant, it can be you wanna be a stripper, you wanna, you know, like, it doesn't fucking matter. There is usually one thing that you think you can't do, and it's usually like quite in the surface, like it's like, well, yeah, like I this is what I want to do, but I can't because, you know, I'm this and this and this, and everyone's gonna think that I'm a shitty person, that I'm gonna be abandoned, I'm gonna be hated, whatever, so I'm just not gonna do it, and I'm gonna remain depressed. You don't need to do that thing right away. Like, that's not the cure to depression. But what you just need to do is allow yourself to want to do that. And no matter how little it might make sense to you, allow yourself to want that. And then if you can, start taking steps towards it. And you don't need to understand why you want to do it. You don't need to understand why you want to be like that, why you want to go there. If there's a person you want to connect to, why do you want that? You don't need to understand. The main point at this stage is that you accept everything that you are and you want, and you're just taking a step towards it, and you open up that portal towards that part of yourself, and you accept that part of yourself. Even if it is something that's like illegal, you don't obviously have to do that, and you shouldn't do it, but you have to accept that part of yourself. I am this right now for some sick reason. I want to do this. And you just accept that part of yourself, and you give that part of yourself attention, and you give that part of yourself the emotional freedom to exist on an emotional level, on an experience level that is abstract within you. You can experience that desire. And then if it's something that's like good, not gonna hurt anyone, all of that shit, I think you should like go towards it. Because if it's that bad when you don't do it, that you get depressed, and it's just a good thing, then what's the worst that can happen? You know, the worst that can happen is that you don't do anything towards it, and you're going to be more and more depressed. Whatever it is that you block from yourself is what depression is trying to show you. It's not, you don't have to be, and I'm telling you this because I've been depressed so many times, and like severely. And nowadays, every time when I get really depressed, I'm like in the gutter. I feel like I'm just like in such a dark place and I can't get out of it. I'm like, remember what happened last time. You were honest with yourself about what you wanted. And this is the thing, especially like if you're really depressed in the sense that you're not just like crying or whatever, like if you like literally you're like, there's nothing anymore and I want to get the F out of this reality. That's literally what you want, but not in the sense that you think. You just want the old self to die. You want your old ego, your old identity to fade away. Just you want to get out of that shell because it feels so bad to be someone that you know actually are not. You know, if you're telling yourself a story that's not true, you're gonna get depressed. If you're telling yourself, I don't have these needs, I don't have these emotions, I don't have these desires, I am not this, and then your whole being is trying to tell you this is exactly what you are, and you were this since you were little, and these are true needs and true desires, and it's a true expression of your soul, and you're like, but it's not because this and this and this and this, and I'm just not gonna do it, you're gonna be depressed. Like you literally are. There's no other way around it. This is like the main point I'm trying to make here. Like there are levels to this, but I think that this society that we're in is blocking so many different characteristics of, and I'm just gonna talk in these terms. You don't have to like these terms. I don't have a better way to put it. Let's say that in these kind of spiritual terms. So there are so many different aspects of the masculine and feminine energy, all energy, but you know, this polarity that, you know, we can kind of assign these different characteristics to, just to make it clearer. So many different parts of these energies that are blocked because they don't serve our system. They would make people, you know, and it's not like an evil thing. You can say that it's an evil thing, and I wouldn't be like opposed to saying that it's an evil thing, but I don't think that helps to say that it's an evil thing. I don't think it helps to be like angry about it, because you just need to like accept the fact that there are parts of you, parts of your polarized energies, and those characteristics that have existed for centuries that are not activated and not needed right now in the society. They're actually harnessed and pacified to be controlled or manipulated, or you know, like whatever is needed in order for you to become a better consumer or worker or whatever. Those are neutral things, because when you're building a system, you want to create like circumstances for it to work, right? It's not great and it's not beautiful, but it's like you don't have to make it evil, because it kind of makes you into a victim again. The way like the masculine energy, for instance, within all of us, but mostly those who are embodying masculine energy more than the feminine energy, they are being pacified by harnessing their sexual energy and making it a slave. Feminine energy, we're being pacified by turning everything about us who embody the feminine energy more, everything about that feminine that is actually like the mystical, magical, the what used to be called witches and kind of still are, but in like kind of different sense, that's just being made crazy. Like whenever you embody those characteristics, people say that you're crazy. And I'm not saying that emotional immaturity is one of these. That's never good. That's not something you can just like say, oh, but I'm a woman, so I get to be crazy. I'm talking about these things that the society wants to, you know, suppress. You know, those are different things in different people. Different strengths in different people are being suppressed, different characteristics, different gifts in different people. And when you look at your depression from an objective point of view, you don't just wallow in it, but you actually look at it like, what am I pushing down in order to be more accepted in this society, or more accepted by your family, your friends, you know, your circle? What is it that I'm pushing down that I actually really, really want to do? And that and depression are like, I'm so certain of this because I've seen it in myself and I've seen it in people so many times. They're completely interlinked. This has two parts, or two like polar opposites. Let's say you're a person who never got any help, any support, any love. You were completely abandoned from day one. This is a polar opposite that I'm talking about now, but you can kind of find those things that you relate to in that. If you're that kind of person, you're bound to feel like a victim. You're like a victim of the cruel world, right? You're not going to feel like you have any agency over your life. The other polar opposite is you get everything on a silver platter. There are no struggles in your life. Everything's easy. The moment you snap your fingers, it's given to you. You're going to feel like a victim. You're never going to experience your own power because you just get to be this baby and everything's been given to you. I've met both people and everything in between, you know. And this can, if you feel like, let's say if you feel like a spoiled brat baby, even in just one level or characteristic, that's going to cause you depression because you're going to tell yourself, I'm not worthy of this and this and this because I never struggled. If you're going to feel like abandoned, hated, haunted animal in even one characteristic of yourself or one level of your life, you're going to feel in that part of your life, it's always going to be taken away from me. It's always going to be painful. I'm always going to be abandoned and everybody's going to hate me. Those are the opposites, and those exist in some level of this spectrum within every characteristic that we have. And if you notice that you're telling yourself a story about this one characteristic of yourself, look at it. Even if this wasn't the complete cycle of it, it's still like worth looking at, because like I got out of depression every single time when I let myself be what I thought I wasn't allowed to be, or what I thought was ridiculous, or what I thought it wasn't important, what I thought wasn't worth investing in. Whenever I include every single part of myself, no matter in how little amounts, but I just don't block those energy systems, I get out of depression every single time. I've been in the rot so many times in such a dark place, and I got out of it every single time, and I get out of it faster and faster nowadays because I can see the personification, the identity of me who is not allowing myself to be complete is who wants to die, who my soul wants to kill off, be like fuck off, like you're just limiting my expression. And I listen to it now. At least my life so far has been a journey of integration. I integrate parts of myself even out of depression, which is obviously way easier. I have less and less depressive episodes the more I can recognize, oh, this is what I want to do before I get depressed. But whenever I feel that depression coming, I know what it is, and I can kind of go through it in like a week. Like, it can be a fucking difficult process, but it's so worth doing it. It can be just like feeling like the shittiest version of yourself, feeling so inadequate,
going in public places and being so ashamed of yourself. But I experiment, you know, I do these things, I do the uncomfortable thing, because otherwise I'm gonna be depressed. I'm gonna keep limiting myself. I can't live like in one identity my whole life. No, I'm gonna have a new identity every day, or even like several identities every day. You don't wanna be like very challenged in the world that was not built for you, and on top of that, be chronically depressed. Like, you don't wanna do that. That's a shitty life. What you can do instead is every fucking day face yourself. Every day face yourself. Like, what do I actually want? No matter how illogical it seems, no matter who says no to you, what do I want? You know, it's gonna pull you out. I mean, getting depressed over and over and over is not a negative thing. It means that your body is communicating to you, I don't have energy now. You're not letting yourself be yourself. So, okay, I feel blocked, I feel depressed. What am I blocking? How am I limiting myself? What kind of story am I telling myself about my true nature and why it's not accepted? That's what I wanted to tell you. I'm gonna keep cutting onions. I see you when I have something to say again. Love you.